When the studio lights dim at the end of a broadcast, most people assume the hosts retreat to quiet rooms, exchange a few jokes, and move on with their day. But the morning of Mark's sudden absence was far from ordinary. It began like any other Tuesday. The familiar countdown echoed through the studio. 2 minutes to showtime. Crew members hustled, adjusting cameras and straightening cue cards, while the audience buzzed faintly with excitement, that intangible energy that always filled the room before a live broadcast. Kelly sat in her usual spot, flipping through notes she already knew by heart. Mark hadn't arrived yet, which was unusual. He was never late, and even when he was, he made a point of entering in his trademark dramatic fashion, bursting into the studio, humming a song from the 90s, dancing past the stagehands, until he landed in his chair with a grin that said he'd just gotten away with something. Today, though, there was no singing, no dancing, no Mark. At first, Kelly assumed it was something simple. Traffic, a coffee run, a delay that would resolve itself. But when the final 30 seconds ticked away, a stage manager approached, face unusually pale, and whispered words that would change everything. Mark isn't coming. The note. He handed Kelly a folded note, handwritten, with Mark's familiar slanting letters pressed intentionally onto the page. Kay, I'm sorry I can't be there today. I needed to make a decision, and I've made it. I hope one day you'll understand. M. Kelly's throat tightened as she read it, the message simple yet incomprehensible. Mark was methodical, deliberate. He didn't make abrupt decisions or disappear without explanation. She slipped the note into her pocket and smiled at the cameras when the show went live, greeting the audience with her practiced enthusiasm. Good morning, she said, her voice steady while her heart raced. Alone in the dressing room. After the broadcast, Kelly barely remembered walking to her dressing room. The adrenaline and training that had carried her through the live show suddenly fell away, leaving her alone with the note, her thoughts, and a rising panic. She read the message again, tracing the familiar handwriting, and tried to make sense of it. Where was he? Why this? She grabbed her phone, dialing his number. The call went straight to voicemail. Trembling, she whispered, Mark, call me. Whatever this is, please just call me. She sank onto the couch, eyes closed, memories flooding back, decades of shared mornings, laughter, arguments, celebrations, and milestones. Together, they had built a life, a family, a career. How could he walk away, even temporarily, without explanation? The world reacts. By midday, news outlets were ablaze. Headlines speculated, fans panicked, and social media erupted with questions. Kelly hosts alone. Where is Mark? Shocking no-show leaves, fans in suspense. But Kelly ignored it all. Her priority was finding him, not defending the moment. Returning home felt wrong. The quiet of the house was foreign without him. A half-finished coffee sat on the counter, his jacket hung by the door, his running shoes discarded near the entryway. He hadn't planned a long escape. He had simply stepped out to find clarity, leaving traces but no answers. Security footage confirmed this. Mark had left early, backpack slung over one shoulder, walking as though it were just another ordinary morning. Except, nothing about that day was ordinary. The first call hours passed, and then her phone buzzed with the call she had been waiting for. Mark? She whispered, answering instantly. There was silence on the other end, then a breath, then his soft, tentative voice. I'm okay, he said. Kelly's eyes stung as she asked, Where are you? What's happening? You scared me. He explained, voice wavering, that he had needed space to make a decision privately, away from cameras and expectations. I just needed one day where I wasn't the guy on TV. One day to figure out if I was okay, he admitted. Kelly's heart sank and lifted all at once. Understanding the choice Mark's words were heavy but honest. He spoke about exhaustion, about feeling like he was performing life rather than living it. Kelly listened quietly, realizing that the grind of daily television, the early mornings, constant criticism, endless scrutiny, had been wearing him down. He didn't want to disappoint her, he said. "You always find a way to carry the weight of the world," he told her, "and I wanted someone to carry it with me too." Kelly responded gently, reminding him that they were a team, that life's challenges were meant to be faced together. Silence followed, but it was the kind of pause that held mutual understanding rather than distance. He ended with, "I'm sorry. Truly, I love you. I just needed a day to breathe, to figure out my heart." The night alone. Kelly spent the evening reflecting. She scrolled through social media, ignoring speculation, fan messages, and rumors. Instead, she focused on Mark's words. "I wasn't living anymore. I just needed space. I didn't want to disappoint you." The truth hit her with force. In her efforts to stay strong for the show, the audience, and their family, she hadn't noticed the weight Mark was carrying. She hadn't realized he needed her not as a co-host, but as a partner who could see beyond the smile he wore for the cameras. Tears gathered at her eyes, and she allowed herself to feel every one of them. The morning after. When morning came, Kelly made a decision. If Mark had found clarity by stepping back, she would honor that choice. Not by running away, but by speaking her truth. She prepared a statement for the day's broadcast, brief, sincere, and free of theatrics. Sitting in her chair, she faced the audience, her voice calm, yet carrying the weight of honesty. "Good morning," she began softly. "Today I want to address what happened yesterday. Mark is safe. He needed time to think, and I support that. Sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones we don't understand in the moment. Life in front of the camera is beautiful, but it can also be overwhelming. Mark needed to step back, not because he doesn't love this show or all of you, but because he needed to reconnect with himself." She paused, steadying her breath. A ripple ran through the audience, but she continued. "I'm proud of him. Proud that he chose honesty over pretending. Proud that he listened to what his heart was telling him. He will speak for himself when he's ready. Until then, thank you for understanding." A gentle resolution. The applause was quiet, respectful, and thoughtful. Kelly exhaled, feeling the tiniest flicker of peace. She had spoken not as a host, but as a partner, as a human being, and it felt freeing. Later that evening, the phone buzzed again. "I watched the sunrise today," Kelly said softly during their call, "and I realized something." Mark's voice was tentative. "What's that?" "You don't owe the world an explanation, but you owe yourself happiness, and I'm with you, whatever that looks like." A crack appeared in Mark's voice, followed by a quiet, heartfelt, "I'm coming home." Kelly closed her eyes, letting the warmth of his words settle over her, like a comforting blanket. A new beginning. The goodbye that had stunned the world became something else entirely. A reset, a reminder that even the strongest partnerships need space, understanding, and compassion. Kelly and Mark had faced uncertainty, but they faced it together, reaffirming a bond built over decades. The lesson was simple, but profound. Love and partnership thrive not in perfection or constant performance, but in honesty, communication, and the willingness to give each other room to breathe. They had weathered the storm, and returned to each other, stronger, more aware, and ready to face the future side by side.